again, there's a lot of buzz around the Capitol, and we heard last half hour. You heard a very, not very, but an emotional Tim Armstead talk about how he was really getting increasingly bothered by the governor's tone in this debate. And Ryan, after the governor's press conference yesterday, you posted a little video online. You were honked off too?
Yeah, I'm just getting tired of it, quite frankly. I mean, day after day, the media is being baited into these political games that the governor's wanting to play, and it really, in my opinion, as I just mentioned, is a distraction from the reality that the governor does not understand this budget process. To this day, he suggested changes in a letter that we've yet to receive revenue estimates on. We were, again, this morning, he had another distraction that he threw out, drew all the media in for 10 minutes. Senate President went down there to talk to the governor to ask him, where are your revenue estimates? 15 minutes after the supposed meeting that he proposed was supposed to start, he was gone already, and it's because he had another press conference somewhere else a half an hour later. So I guess what he was saying was he thought that he was going to accomplish the entire budget in 30 minutes or 15 minutes this morning.
You also, I mean, you've engaged with him. And Tim Armstead, House Speaker, last half hour said, I'm not going to get into the name calling. I'm not going to get into that. I may object to some of his characterizations. I'm not going to go after him personally. You've said some things about him personally. So have you been part of the problem as opposed to the solution?
I have not done anything to his level, at the level of name calling or anything like that. Everything that I have said is factual. I've asked him, he says he wants to work with us on the budget until we get in a room with him, and he says it's my way or the highway. I've asked him about when he's going to pay the back taxes that he owes the state. We're not talking about a small amount of money. We're talking about $4.4 or more million that he owes the state of West Virginia. That's not an insignificant amount of money. Everything that I've said to the governor or about the governor is completely factual and completely relevant to what we're trying to accomplish today.
All right. Let me stick around. I want to go to Charlie Trump and Chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I want to talk about a couple policy things. One bill that has caught some attention of folks, Charlie, is Senate Bill 239. No, let me see. Let's start with 408. Senate Bill 408, which removes civil service protection for public employees. The summary of the bill literally says remove civil service.
That's right, Hoppy.
And why do you want to do that?
It's my bill, and it eliminates, the original bill would eliminate or scale back drastically the division of personnel. Because, Hoppy, the people that work for the government are employees of the taxpayers of this state, and there has been constructed this enormous labyrinth of regulation and rules and control, almost like the state were a giant labor union, and we need to break it.
Charlie, you're a smart guy. You know why civil service is there. Civil service originated because back in the 1800s, whenever a new elected person came in, everybody was out, and all his cronies were in. It became a spoils system. So the fear is you go back to a spoils system.
No, it won't. I don't believe it'll happen, Hoppy. I think that the government needs to have the tools, however, to keep competent people and move people who aren't getting the job done along for the taxpayer. Now, in the legislative branch of the government, every employee is an at-will employee. And we had a change in control in the legislature for the first time in 84 years in 2014. And there are plenty of people working here now who were working here then. We didn't clean house because we took over. We identified the people who knew how to do a job for the taxpayers of this state, and they are still here working every day.
Would you concede, though, Charlie, and maybe you guys are more benevolent than others might be, would you concede that somebody else could get, a new administration could come in, and there's somebody who's been working in the Department of Education, well, not education, because that's a little bit separate, Department of Commerce, and they're competent at what they do. New person comes in and goes, well, my brother-in-law gets the job.
Well, you know what? Then the people who do that sort of thing will be held accountable by the voters for that. That's not the intention of this bill. The intention of this bill, my intention, is to break this culture of grievance that we have here in state government. We have, as you know, tremendous fiscal problems facing the state, and what we have now is a system that makes it very difficult for the government to respond, get right-sized, and live within our means, which we have committed to do. Our caucus has committed to report and pass a budget that spends no more than the revenue that comes from the revenue estimate for the existing taxes. And actually, you know, it'll be the governor who decides how to use this tool if it passes both houses of the legislature and becomes law.
Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Charlie Trump is with us, also Majority Leader Ryan Ferns. Ryan, I'm going to get back to you in a minute about the budget. Charlie, one other bill I want to talk to you about is Senate Bill 239, and as I understand it, this started out as legislation that would say, I think it's is that the workplace protection? Is that, or is
It's
that
a paycheck.
paycheck protection?
It's for worker paychecks.
Okay. So initially the bill said that if you are in a union, that they have to get permission to deduct a portion of your salary for political purposes. That's how it started initially, right? Is that correct?
That's part of the bill,
Okay.
and that remains part of the bill.
Okay, but now I understand it's been expanded to say that if you belong to a union, you're in a workplace, that you have to get permission from the employee every year to deduct even union dues. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And why do you want to go that extra step?
Well, and that part relates to the public employees, Hoppy, and I think it's common sense, good policy. If, you know, first of all, let's back up and say employees of the state or its political subdivisions, school boards, they have the right to belong to any group or organization or association they choose to join. However, I think it's a reasonable protection for them to require that if money is going to be taken out of their paychecks, that they consent in writing to it no less frequently than once a year. Just once a year, Hoppy.
Okay.
To say it's okay for somebody else to take money out of my paycheck.
Okay, let me get back to that's Charlie Trump, Chairman of the Senate Judiciary. Let me get back to Ryan Ferns, the Majority Leader. And let me get back to the budget. I mean, what's the likelihood that there will be some compromise between Republican leadership and the governor on a budget? Let's just start with that framework. Or is compromise out the window because it's going to be one way or the other?
Look, Hobby, I don't think the legislature has ever backed down from the position that we are willing to work with the governor. What he does day in and day out with these press conferences, the scare tactics and everything else, I think is very counterproductive. But we're never going to change our position that we're willing to work with the governor on a compromise because it's too critical to the state of West Virginia. There's nothing more critical, nothing more serious. And while he continues to play games, we continue to work. We have been in, throughout the day, Senate leadership and House leadership have been working together on several compromise proposals, and in every one of those meetings we discuss components that we think might bring the governor on board. Now, I have no idea what he will do, but it's very much on our radar to try to accomplish a compromise.
Could your compromise include additional revenue, more revenue, which he wants very badly, more revenue above the expected revenue collection of $4.055 billion next fiscal year, more money for classroom teacher pay raise, for Save Our State Fund?
We are talking about all of his suggested proposals and what the legislature might have an appetite to consider in an effort for compromise. And there's no one specific area that I think that we've settled in on, but we realize that he has been very unwilling to compromise at this point, but we are still optimistic that he will come to his senses.
Senator Ryan Ferns, the Senate Majority Leader, Republican, Ohio County. Senator Charlie Trump, Republican, Morgan County, Chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Thank you both.